up? Today is the perfect day to paint indoors. Why? Here in the desert, we are breaking records with our temperatures. It's crazy hot outside, so I'm staying inside while everything else melts outside. So as you can tell from the description of this video, we are going to learn how to paint a cluster of flowers today. I'm gonna break it all down with you guys, the structure, the direction, sizing, all of that. Very good things. Yeah. In this sketch for a basic flower cluster pattern, I'm going to follow the rule of threes. So I'm making 3 large circles representing 3 large flowers. The smallest one will be pointing upwards, the one to the right will point towards the right, and usually the one on the bottom will be just straight forward. These arrows represent a string of leaves going in those directions, and then just some larger leaves that will fill in different voids. The smaller circles represent smaller florals that will just kind of fill in little gaps here and there, and then some even bigger leaves to tie the whole look all together, following the arrows once again. Here I'm going to make a large purple flower, and I'll do that by making a circle and then some round ridges around the edge. While that dries, I'm going to move on to my next flower with this bright yellow, making my petals point somewhat upwards, and I'm going to make the smallest petal at the bottom so it gives that dimension a little bit. Our next flower is this bright blue, and this one is just a cone shape upside down. And here I'm adding some highlights and shadowing just with darker and lighter purples. Here I'm going in with a dark yellow, following the edge of my petals and giving it a small bump in the center. This creates sort of a fold on our petals. Now that the blue flower is dried, I'm using a lighter shade of blue and just creating another layer so my flower has some depth to it, adding a little bit of an even lighter blue to that for some detailing. Here I'm adding a center to my yellow flower, and I'm just not closing off the bottom of that dome. Next I'm adding some random dots with various sizes, and that one's almost done, just adding some highlights. This purple flower is a little bit bare, so I'm going to add some dots to it here. And now we have our 3 large flowers following that pattern I showed you in the beginning. Now I'm adding my 3 smaller flowers. I'm going to keep these all the same with a light beige, just 5 petal flowers. While our happy little flowers dry, I'm going to move on to our large leaves. Here I'm using just a nice dark green, and one thing I like to do is keep my leaves in sets of 2s, sometimes 3s. Referencing back to our first sketch of our layout, I'm following the trail of our arrows with both the big leaves and the stems of leaves. Here I'm just using some of those nice chunky roundish leaves going parallel to each other on the stem, using a light green. I just want to quickly point out that the great thing about this pattern is you can use pretty much any flowers you would like. You don't necessarily have to paint the same ones I'm painting here, but you can get really creative with it and just have fun with it. Either way, if you decide to follow this video, I would love to see your creations. Gonna add some extra details to those little flowers and a dark green center to our leaves to give a contrast. Then I'm following that up with a lighter green on our dark leaves. Here I'm adding a dark brown center to our happy little flowers, just kind of like a smaller flower within the flower. And there is our finished result. Painting flower clusters was something I struggled with when I first started painting, so I hope this little cheat sheet was able to help you out on your painting journey. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. I look forward to seeing you all next week, and until then, happy painting.